write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the Bluez let this last.
I don't know if the earth is big.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. My name is Prestige, and I'm with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Easy Bluez is in the building. Easy Bluez, you are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
I want the world to imagine. Imagine a world with nothing. Can't hear anything. Sound has been taken from you. The beautifulness of the interval of the 1 and 5 or the 1 and 4 gone forever. Those chords, that 1-4-5 progression that beats in every single pop song, you're never going to hear it. You want to know why? Because no one ever documented it. Because years upon years upon years, you never heard of Robert Johnson without someone going out and taking a record and recording on the spot. Recording engineers are so much more important than just capturing a moment, because they are actually giving us a full definition of the history, not only of an art form, but of a culture and of a people. And I have to say, this is by far one of the most incredible human beings in this field of recording engineering, at a space that has been overly welcoming to everyone, even someone that was a choppy, that started out as a choppy, aggressive acoustic player and now has formed himself into running with a rookery. You know, has always had an open. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Not if you're driving. If you're driving, keep your hands at 10 and 2. Put your hands together for Nate Sage of Sage Sound Studios. I think my internet cut out.
Nate, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's great. It's great to have you here. He's been telling me some great things about you. I know I have a nice little still photo of Easy Bluez. His spirit is still within the program. But been doing this for a very long time. I believe record engineering. How long you been doing this for, bro?
You know, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I've been doing this a long time. Professionally, you know, we're encroaching like 16, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much half my life. And it's kind of odd because it doesn't feel that. It feels like a couple of years maybe, because you're just continually going. And you might stop every now and then for like a day or two here and fly out somewhere, come back, you know. But apart from that, yeah.
Now, was this always your passion, or this happened by accident?
Yeah, so, you know, I didn't go out to be a sound engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, originally I wanted to write electronic music.
Okay.
But I was like, well, how do I make that? You know, like the Prodigy, Jolly for the Generation. You know, that was my. I want to do something that makes me feel like that. How do I do that? And that's what got me going. Secondly, I always wanted to play the drums, and I've been playing the piano since I was 7. That was my choice, not my parents.
Okay.
So I bet they love me for that. So yeah, I really like, you know, it's more the musician side and side of things, and somehow, as everything happens, you end up opposite what you wanted to do, and actually better at it. So, you know.
Well, it looked like it turned out to be the right decision for you.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, I've done live stuff. Obviously I've performed live, but live engineering, I do that every now and then. Yeah, people that prefer live and they don't like the studio. I like the studio more than live, but I'll do everything anyway. I don't really have a gauge of what's better. I really like the recording side because you are like the first person to hear the ideas. You get to mess around with different people, different skill sets, different levels, and so it's always interesting.
Easy Blue, is that true? Is that always interesting, especially in the musician world? Go right
Oh,
ahead.
it really is, and I have to say, I really commend, because the amount of talent, local talent, that has come through Sage Sound. I mean, we've had Jamar on from the Hooch. They recorded there with you. I know our good friend Stephanie Saranita works with you. Zach Anderson is phenomenal, and he was able to branch it out from just being, this beaut. And for those who have not been to Sage Sound Studio, it is absolutely gorgeous. It's a great welcoming room for anybody who wants to just play music. If you're a fan of like getting involved in the jam of music, it is definitely a room that allows that to happen. I have been honored to play with both Shane Penguin and my original project for the Monsters of Acoustic Rock thing that you guys have put together. And what I really loved about not only being able to play, because I love playing shows, you put me in front of an audience, I like attention. Shocking. Why we have this show, right, Preston?
Right.
So, just having the opportunity to play somewhere is awesome. Being around other artists that also are thriving and are creating art is awesome experience. But the actual promotion you put into it, the before and after, where you guys interview the artists and you guys put this up, and with different types of reviews as well, that a great marketing plan for other artists is taking this stuff and putting it onto your website. So you're building your portfolio and making yourself a much more viable option moving forward, which then will create more cash flow income coming in later. So that is a huge part, and I don't think you guys get enough credit for that, and I really wanted to give you your flowers now for that, so thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Oh, and one more thing. You guys ever really want, for those listeners that also follow Shane Penguin, if you really want to hear how great Nate's ear is for live sound, you go to our Bandcamp. We recorded our entire Monster of Acoustic Rock session was recorded at Sage Sound, and Nate was able to go through and actually almost took off completely the cowbell drop that happened out of nowhere while our bassist was shifting over and grabbing something. And made it all flow so wonderful, and was able to take away a lot of the ambient outside noise and make it something that we could put up and offer to help us move forward in promotion wise too. So please feel free that you can do live recording there as well. Just saying.
I think you just did his entire promo for him. I think he should be just paying you a couple of red Easy Blues.
That's right.
No, just honestly, a high five and a hug from Nate. I'm good to go.
Thanks,
Marketing.
I'm good at what I do. I'm sorry, it's my bad.
But Nate, man, let's get back to the questions, man. What made you want to start your own business? What made you just want to take the ball? Like, look, I can do this.
It's a couple of things really. It wasn't first off, I just want to do this. It was opportunities. So opportunities come, and you either take it or you go somewhere else. And I like a challenge. I like to build things up and get them going. It's like making a record, so if it's already all running and you just continue it, and it's like, that's fine. But what we're turning it into and watching it slowly, but it's getting there. Last few years, going from just recording bands to now we're working on. We got a feature film that we worked on, doing 80 hours with Bashira coming out this month. Huge. We've already done like top 10 Netflix show, which is out several weeks ago, and then all the way through to audiobooks, but for Amazon. Whilst all that's happening, we're upgrading, being changes in the studio and such. So basically, that opportunity came a few years ago, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick it out here and invest and build it into something. Because you know, I hear a lot of people, they're like, well, why Shelton? And I'm like, well, why anywhere? You know, I'm from across the pond, so you know, I'd say the same thing in my hometown. Why would you just come here? And like I say to people, it's just where we are is just we're just a location. It doesn't matter where we are because we can be anywhere in the world now. Like on this Zoom call, we do remote recording, ADR, voiceover, and technically we can even record people multi-track up to 24 tracks anywhere in the world if they have the same system as us. So it's like, and it's really convenient. So why not just build on what you already know and go into the unknown at the same time, you know? So you know, I didn't really go into thinking I want to own the studio. It really like landed on my lap, and I'm like, well, okay, I either do this or we go somewhere else. That was it there.
I think it's so interesting that people are like, why Shelton? Because if you look at throughout all of history, you can tell there's people, you know, Chess Records was in the middle of nowhere. Muscle Shoals was in the middle of nowhere. You know, these places did not become, there was that like, oh, this is a really famous cultural spot. We're going to put a recording studio here. It became a famous cultural spot because art was created there. And I do feel both with you and with Vic in West Haven, art is being created there, and there is a culture that's being created there. And what I really love about your culture as well is it is an all-inclusive aspect, you know, where, you know, you actually have, you know, you're working with Zach to help in the promotion aspect that also helps with the art aspect. And then you also have these incredible relationships with the seller, for example, you know, and these are all things that continuously help each other, which has always been, I mean, you've known me a long time, Nate. This is what I've been championing and fighting for forever is like, hey, if all of our artists could just work together, I guarantee you people would pay attention to us, you know, and now people are stepping forward and they're starting to be like, hey, and I let them think it's their idea, but you know, it's because I'm humble, right, Preston?
It works.
But really, what it comes down to when you look at what was the transition from electronic music and creating it, which is, for those who don't really know, it is a lot of actual sitting and programming, and so there is a good transition to recording engineering.
Yeah.
But what took it from wanting to create for others?
Working in the supermarket like part-time. I'll tell you what.
I'll do it.
So high five.
I worked in this local supermarket back in England, and there's one of my first girlfriend, one of my girlfriends in the early days. Turns out her dad is a big musician, and basically it was looking for an engineer for his studio, and I kept running into him, and I think it was like the 13th or 14th time. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come in. Because, I hadn't been outside of my own, like outside of where I learned in London, being in my own bedroom, I haven't stepped foot in the studio. So, okay, so I turned up, went there, and it just worked. So, it turns into like, all right, come back next week. And then 1 week turns into 2, and then the days increase, and then you're doing like 8 days in 2 weeks, and then you're doing like 5 days a week, and then it just increases. And that's Don Airey from Deep Purple, by the way. So he's made I have to give him a lot of credit. He's made a lot of people where they are. He's got musicians that are like hugely famous now. He took them under his wing. He got them into positions. I'm just one of like many people that he's really good at that with. So I'm very thankful towards him, and he's still going. They're still recording. I think Deep Purple just recorded a 22nd or 23rd album, so it's like coming out soon. They're still recording.
Oh my good, yeah. And they're still recording. It's awesome, and I love that you have that connection, because I used to play open mics with Richie Blackmore when they started doing Blackmore's Night. He was living on Long Island and in St. James. there was this coffee house that him and his wife used to love to go to. And the first time I played with him, I did not realize, because he was just, first of all, he was in all Renaissance gear, which on a Tuesday in St. James is a little weird. You know, I'm just saying, like, he was full committed, and more power to him. I love when you commit to a bit. I love it. But then to realize the history, and to realize, and then to be able to talk to him as a human being, takes a little bit to get used to, I will say. He's very abrupt, and he's very, very, very about his opinion, and more power to him. He has earned that. And how other people feel about him, I don't care. I had a good experience. But I love that we have a mutual Deep Purple connection. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Easy Blues, I'm having a great experience too on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Blues in the building. We got Nate Sage of Sage Sound Studios on Behind the Brand. Go right ahead, Easy.
Well, I also love the fact that Destiny came knocking for you more than one time. And I think that is very big, especially for those that are entrepreneurs. You know, sometimes the calling will happen over and over and over again, but you have to recognize that calling. There is that comedic parable about, you know, the person that was in the flood, and they had to go up top of their roof and they start praying to God. And, you know, all of a sudden a boat comes by and they're like, no, God's got me. It's going to be fine. And the boat goes away. And then like a helicopter comes by. Oh no, God's got me. And then the helicopter goes away, you know, and then the guy drowns and he goes up to heaven. He's like, God, I thought you had me. He's like, dude, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. What more did you want from me? You had this opportunity. Destiny continued to knock on your door, and you had the faith to answer that. That is a big step. And that is a step that I hope those that are looking to build their own brands really understand. It could come from anywhere. You were not initially aligned to do recording engineering. You had an electronic artist mind, which helps with your sound blending. That is a very key thing. I've listened to a lot of the stuff you have produced because, you know, I stalk you, and that's fine. And you blend sounds so beautifully well that comes from having a composition mind. It's very, very important. So just because it wasn't 100% aligned with your dream before does not mean it's not your destiny moving forward. And that's really what I want the entrepreneur at home to understand.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's a great analogy. Yeah, that's cool. I can't. It's very hard for me to compress everything down and go, that's what it is. But that's why I'm here.
Well, exactly. And it's a bunch of different experiences that have added up to that. And that's what makes us all different. And in that difference is awesome. You know, if we were all the same, life would be boring. You know?
Yeah.
Life would be boring.
We're like working on new podcast. It's actually called Abandoned Albums. We're doing like the second episode this weekend. And the funny thing about that is the way it kind of links is these are albums, these are artists that was signed. They got the album deal. And it just didn't go anywhere after the first album. They're just forgotten in history. And then we had things that was a massive fire. And I think it was Universal MCA, you know, they lost all the archives. And so now some of these albums, why didn't they make it big? You know, so this is this really cool thing, you know, because they did get up that Control and all that, did get the recording deal. They got there, and then it just died. And it was all mostly about timing and the record companies not knowing where to put this music because it wasn't, you know, current at the same, you know, right now it wasn't the hot thing. So it's like it's pretty interesting.
Well, and stuff like that happens all the time. There is that whole the sophomore curse. You know, artists that get signed and have that one really great record, and then the follow-up record just isn't as good or doesn't necessarily go with, you know, they've evolved in their sound past what their fans are ready for evolution. I mean, the one that hits home the most for me, being from Long Island, is 9 Days. 9 Days has that one huge one-hit wonder, you know, This Is the Story of a Girl. And then Sony just had a change up. And they went from like most favored band to, you know, we'll get to you when we get to you. And from that point, they grew into different aspects. Now they are back and making music again together, but it is something that can destroy you as a human, especially when it is bred into us that when you get the record contract is when you make it. And that's not true. It's not true.
Beginning. I call it
exactly.
It's the beginning of the loan. You've been approved. Now you have to pay us back when you're ready. You know, so
exactly.
But unfortunately, you haven't planned. You know, you're hoping you can pay it back as opposed to planning. Like I already have things set up that it's going to be paid back, and then that's the biggest. The whole break thing about the record deals are they're basically a loan, and out of that loan, they pay for the people to get you somewhere. You know, like. You know, everybody, you know, record labels, yeah, there are some people that have done some bad stuff, whatever. But generally, on the whole, they don't want it to fail. Nobody goes in, we want to put this money into this band because we want it to fail. So it's like, and then a lot of lines get crossed because people don't read contracts, and then, you know, people don't have the right advisor, they don't know to go to attorneys, and then they can't afford them. And you know, if in the outset like they'd be like, here's a record deal, here's a list of attorneys you should really get to look over it before you sign it. But of course there were some that were really sketchy and they didn't want you to do it, but like the major ones, it doesn't really benefit a company in the long run nowadays to do that. So back then, yeah, they could get away with a lot more because they didn't have the internet. So you could just hide. And you'd only be picked up if the newspapers caught you or whatever, and that would be a long run. So it's now it's more accountable. So I think now they're a lot more business savvy, but now we've got the streaming services a lot harder to get your money back. So you really have to, speaking about brands, you have to really get in with a brand to get your music out, because you know it's all about publishing, you know. So and don't forget, everybody forgets about publishing deals. A record company gives you money to record, but so does a publishing company, and they can give you like the same amount of money. If you get a publishing deal and a record deal, you get twice the amount of money, and you know, so but you know, they just think, oh, publishing deal, oh, I just get my music up there and then they recruit the money for me, but they will actually, in some cases, front money for recording. The big ones. Small independent ones, they're kind of like, you just submit your music and they collect the royalties and then take a percentage off of that. So that works too, you know. I've made money off of that one back in the UK. But not for me.
Now, what is the actual difference between, say, a producer and a recording engineer?
A producer doesn't have to know how to engineer. That's it. They just know, they have a knack. If they're really good and well known, it's because they know what sounds good. You know, you rehearse, you come in, they'll be like, "We've got this song." You'll be like, "No, it's not a song. Scratch that. I like that part, but scratch the rest." Or, "How about you put this here and put that there?" Sometimes you don't need to say anything. You know, a producer doesn't have to always say something, but generally, a real producer, they just know how to orchestrate, know how to get the best out of people. You know, they know how to work the musician because they see their weaknesses and their strengths, and they know what they can and can't do, and they know if they're actually going to be a right fit, or if you need to get a session person in. You know, that's a producer. An engineer, we set things up, we get the sound, we make sure we get the sound right at the source, as close as you need it or want it. Really, ideally, you want it to record it how you want it to be finished. And mixing, really, everybody says fixing the mix, but that's just, no. Fix it in the beginning. The mixing's just like, okay, we come back and we just polish it off a little bit here and there before it goes off to mastering. So engineering is just capturing the sound. Producing is getting the performance out of the artists, and at the same time, the structure of the song is also songwriting. So producing and songwriting very close. And then that's about it there. And then the thing that people get confused with is back in the day, the old days, where engineers used to wear lab coats and make their own gear. They'd make the compressors, they'll make their effects units, they'll make their boards, because you go to that studio because they have that sound. Well, there's even like, imagine your guitar pedals, every single guitar pedal, imagine they're all a different shop, which they are, to be honest. They're their own sound. So you get them because you want their sound. That's what the studios used to be. And then you used to have, you'd have a runner that would go and get all your food and supplies for everybody whenever they wanted. You have the tape op, which would just literally stand next to the tape machine. His job is just to press play, load and unload, and line the reels. I mean, literally, they'd just shove them in the back room. And then you'd have the assistant that would go and set up the mics. Then you have your engineers here, like me. Then you have your producer. Then you have... you used to have a lot of people doing this. Now, because of budgets, they kind of like combine producer, engineer, mixer, but not everybody can produce, just like some producers can't engineer, some producers can. Some engineers can't produce, some can, So it's that's really what a producer is. The simplest terms I can explain
it. No. I mean, it made sense to me, and there's a whole lot of people at home going, "Oh, okay," because a lot of people, it gets lost in the translation, and especially in dealing more in the field of like hip hop, where the producer is actually the person that is constructing the beat and constructing the sound, and I think that, to break it down in the most layman's terms, the engineer captures the sound, the producer helps create it or helps craft it. And that's what they're supposed to. Right.
That way you actually get a better product, because everybody's focusing on their one thing. And the best thing about a real producer, a proper producer, is they have no bias. So they don't come in, "Oh, I'm such and such friend, I'm gonna make it." It's like you want somebody that knows nothing with the project, or because they're gonna be extremely critical, and that means you're gonna get the best product at the end of the day.
And it's true, and you need that. Like, from an artist point of view, I need someone to be like, it's a little too far. Especially, I like to get as weird as humanly possible, and some of that does not necessarily translate to the average listener, or it could turn someone off, and you don't want to do that. I say it with local acts. No matter what, if you have an issue with another local act, have that issue, talk amongst, your band about that, and try to talk to that other act about that. Don't talk about it in an open club, because you don't know, forget offending that act. You don't know that act's fans. And the last thing you want to do is offend a fan, because then that's potential a follower that you've lost. Because no matter what you feel about that act on stage or how they're delivering it, that person is connected, and they have a special bond. And you should never, in my house, we say we do not extinguish anyone else's flame here. Everyone can be who they are, and they should be who they are. And I think that is something we need to move forward as a scene, and really as a society, on the grander scale. And that, because you and I have had to defend many a social media attacks coming from a certain point of view. We're not going to get there, but I'm just saying, as a society, if we were all like, hey, let's not try to attack the other thing that someone else is believing in, because it just makes you look bad. It hurts.
Yeah, little playground antics we left behind many years ago. Yeah,
exactly.
Nate, how different is the environment just at your Sage Sound Studios just during the pandemic? Because I know you said the room was really packed before, like you explained the whole like scene and everything. I think that was like pre-COVID. How was it like during March, April of last year and everything? Because everything had to go complete 180 of how you did business.
Yeah, well, I'm one of the few that didn't get any unemployment or anything like that. So I just worked through the whole thing. Obviously, we couldn't work in the first month or so we had to just, do up the studio a bit, and we could do some remote like mixing and mastering, but of course the flip side of that is like, well, there were people making more money than they were making at their job, but they didn't want to spend it, on. So we had all the time in the world. We had quite a bit of like online mixing, but yeah, it's just literally just putting our thumbs and sprucing the place up, and we could eventually have people in. We've been strict on everything. Rehearsals more so. A lot of people really wanted to like rehearse it because they were like trying to get out of the house. So it's pretty interesting. And actually, a lot of people then wanted to start because they had all this material written. They wanted to record it. So we're getting a lot of rehearsals in now. We're getting a lot of people that want to like start doing like EPs again, and they got out for the summer to do all the live shows, so now it's like hibernation again. But something I was about to say, I can't remember it. That's great about getting old, by the way.
That's great about getting old.
Yeah, just forgetting about what I was going to say. That's a great point. Come back to me in a minute.
Well, let me help you out there. I think one of the reasons why recording kind of stopped during the pandemic aspect too is because the only way you can really, as an independent artist, let me put that in my asterisks, the only way you can really recoup the funds you're investing in yourself by recording the record you need to have out there, you need to be able to play shows.
Right.
You weren't able to play shows, so it no longer became a safe investment to invest in the recording aspect. But the one thing you knew was going to happen was the industry was going to open up again for live shows, and you needed to make sure you were getting that rehearsal time in there. And for all those who need to see how beautiful, other than going to your amazing website, the Sage Sound Studio is, Shane Penguin did do a whole bunch of rehearsal time at Sage Sound Studios, and we recorded live video from there because we missed you all. And again, I need attention. So you can feel free to go over to Shane Penguin's YouTube and like those videos as well, done at Sage Sound Studio.
Yeah, and actually, that's what I completely forgot. It was they wanted to perform and they couldn't perform, so we actually started doing live streaming. So a couple of them we recorded, and then some people would just have their laptop on and just do that. But that was, they couldn't afford the recording with us, then that's what they did.
Right.
But that was interesting. I think because the whole like live performance over streaming, and then getting like tips. And then I found out that one of my artists from a few years ago, they'd actually been doing this for like a few years because they're just a singer-songwriter, so they can just sit at their home. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So every time he performs, he actually now has dedicated people and they pay him, as opposed to going to a music venue and people might just talk over everything and you get nothing. And I'm like, that's genius. But it's been around for a bit, but there was a huge surge of like wanting to live stream from the studio, like performing, doing virtual shows. And actually that was not only did bands do that, we started getting we've been working with Hollywood quite a bit now. A lot of our ADR voiceover stuff are from like LA, Michigan, and so they opened up the world because the actors would fly back from California, and they'd actually set up home in Connecticut again. So
Mm-hmm.
we had a lot of like
Out of Connecticut, this is a Connecticut station. It's WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City made EZ Bluez is in the building. We got Nate Sage of Sage Sound Studios with us. Continue your answer. Tell me about anything.
Hold on one second before you continue.
sir.
I would like to again give you credit. That transition was like 1970s smooth. I really appreciated that. Like,
And
I was like, look at
thank you
this.
for applauding me, but let's applaud Nate because it's not about us. We're just the host. He's the guest. He is the guest of the program. So
Exactly.
Nate, go right ahead as I transition back to you. Go ahead, sir. If I ruined your thought process,
no, that's cool. I know
a lot happened at one time.
It's cool. So yeah, you get a lot of you know, the sets. They couldn't. I mean, literally, we're now SAG-AFTRA approved, so we're one of the few SAG-AFTRA studios in Connecticut, which is amazing. But on set, you know, like it's a really strict regimen. Like you have a zone A, a zone B, a zone Z. Zone Z can't go into B. You know, like so they couldn't film like certain aspects. So there was this like crazy, what are we gonna do? Like everyone's on hold. So okay, let's try and get what we can get done. Like, you know, I guess so that opened up a lot for us, and now it's continuing. So that's.
Now, Nate, you talk about all these projects you've been doing with all these other companies. Can we get like a name of some of these movies and some of these TV shows?
Yeah. So the main movie that's coming out this year, this month, very soon. I'm not sure on the release date, but it's very soon now. It's called Bashira.
Okay.
And then the Netflix is World's Most Amazing Holiday Vacation Rentals.
All right.
Then we got, you know, doing something with PBS soon. We're doing lots of things. But the two of the audiobooks that stand out is Sister's Entrance. It's like Emmett Tell Mahmood. Like she's like an ambassador. She's actually based in New Haven now, but from Pennsylvania, but actually from Sudan, and she's been all over the world. She's spoken at the United Nations. You should check that book out. It's called The Sister's Entrance. It's poetry, but it's real. You know, it's nothing fake about it. So it's a bit gut wrenching actually when you actually read the words in front of you, and powerful, very powerful. So you can go on Amazon, you can get that. The other book is called Broken America. You know, that's more about poverty in the United States right now, and that's actually pretty eye-opening as well. Got into those kind of things, you should definitely check them out. I think Broken America came out on hardback. I haven't checked online. I assume it's online now, but I'll check in a minute. But yeah, they come out at different times, but let's definitely check that out.
As a recording engineer, since you've been working with audio for a long time, do you think audibles from different kinds of books are underrated? Because some of them are really entertaining, the ones I've been listening to.
The order what?
Audibles, you know, audibles. I like to read the book out loud. Do you think a lot of them are? Do you think in general, not a lot of them in general, that they're underrated?
Yeah, I think they're great, especially for like I listen in the car a lot to them. More so than I do music now. I obviously I do listen to music, but I listen to audiobooks more than I read now. That's because it's convenient. I would like to sit and read more often, but my attention's all over the place. So if I'm hearing it, I can do other things. So it's kind of like lazy, I guess. But no, they're picking up. I mean, it's kind of like the podcast thing, but I love audiobooks. You know, they're really good. You know, listen to them anywhere I want, and you don't have to hold anything. You don't have to carry anything. It's just right there. I think it's great, personally.
And this is one of the last questions on my soapbox, Nate. You're a man of many talents. What do you look for when an independent artist comes to you? What are your top things when a musician or any kind of entertainer comes to you? Because you guys do everything over. You said voiceovers, podcasts, very versatile over at Sage Sound Studios. But what do you personally look for when a talent comes to you?
I think it's different because the artist aspect doesn't really apply to voiceover and etc. You know, basic covers the
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's really what do they want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy recording anybody that wants to be there, but you know they've got to put the effort in, and you know the last thing you want to work with is somebody that says one thing, does another, doesn't commit properly, or you know they turn up ridiculously late. They're not rehearsed, and you know so really is what do they want to do with it? If they want to do it for fun, that's perfectly fine. If they want to do it professionally, then you know let's do that. But I don't really go, well, I'm not going to work with that because of that. It's not how I roll. If you want to come and record, I'll record you. But number one thing is you got to be prepared, and you know it's rehearsal, it's getting the songs down,
right?
And when you're recording, and if you do that, your product's going to be great, and you're going to be happy. Really, it's just be committed. Is all I can say. It's like, you know, don't do things by halves, and really don't record until you're ready. You know, you know, I've seen a lot of different things. I've had people in and they thought they had the lyrics, and somebody's like, "Oh, we don't have the lyrics." I'm like, "Well, you know, let's just here. I'm not going to sit here like running up the clock." It's like, go back, come back, come back when you actually remember to bring the lyrics with you for starters. I mean, it's just like, but that doesn't happen at all now. Moving upwards, so yeah, I don't really have anything like to say to bands other than just, you know, don't bring tons of booze and get wasted, because that's happened. We've had people come up.
Easy Blues, can you attest to all this commitment and all this nonsense?
No, 100%. And I say it all the time, even with putting together shows, playing with different bands. You know, it is an act of professionalism. You know, one of the things, and P, you know this, if I'm playing at a venue, I make sure that I'm there half hour before call time. You know, check out the venue, make connections, shake hands. You know, even venues I've played 1.5 million times. I know for a fact, you know, if I have a show at the Cellar, I could walk in 5 minutes before I go on and we're going to be fine. But it's not the image I want to give. You know, there are a lot of artists that succumb to the myth of, you know, this is what an artist is supposed to be, and you're supposed to be irresponsible, and you're supposed to just, you know, stink of bourbon. You know, again, that was a fantasy. And if you actually paid attention or you listened to some of these audiobooks from the musicians, I'm listening to the Keith Richards one right now. After that, I've got the Lenny Kravitz one that's going to rock and roll. And then I got another one. I got the Dave Grohl one coming right after that. You know, although I'm a student of the game, sir, a student of the game. You know, but they still had that professionalism. You know, Keith Richards says, as messed up as he ever was in the studio, he was always clean and ready to go. He never took that lightly. You know, he might have taken showing up for a live performance, but hey, in his words, the audience was going to wait for him anyway, so it didn't matter. You know, and they're still going to get the money's worth of that show. You know, I think he's only canceled one show, and he didn't even cancel the show after one of his children died. He still went out and played that show. And that's professionalism. You know, that's a level of professionalism. As destructive and as self-destructive as Keith Richards was, professionally, he was always on point. And that's a big thing. You can go a lot further. Talent will get you far. Talent and professionalism will get you much further, you know, and it breaks my heart to see some bands or, you know, or some acts and if this aligns to you, this is dealing with you and has nothing to do with me or my opinion of you. I love everyone. But there are some bands that it does break my heart that they self-sabotage because they could be so much further, and their message, because you know me, it's about the meaning. Their message of their lyrics and their music could touch so many more people if they got out of the way of the self-destructive rock image. But that's me.
They never tell you about the sessions that they dumped because everybody was wasted. I mean, that's
right.
That's what we know. That the public are just like, oh, they did that like this, and it was all rock and roll. It's like, yeah, no, they scratched all that, and you lose days on their dime. So yeah, that's all I really ask is just be professional, and be on time. Be professional, be ready, be on time, and the person that wins really, if that's done right, is the artist, because like if it's not, not my work, it's their work. So I think people are a lot better at it now these days, than in the past. And I think it's just a whole different shift because of social media and everything now. New generations, and I think they're a lot more responsible, shall we say? So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and as far as and as if make sure it's what they want.
Right.
Really, if you want to make a career out of this, then I'll give them some advice on what they should do. If they just want it for fun, then that's fine too. They're gonna get the same effort from us, whether it's independent, major, or just for fun. It doesn't matter. We do everything. So that's the main thing. It's all about the artists and all about the clients. We're just here doing our thing.
We're just here doing our thing too. I'm behind the brand on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Nate, please just re-give the information. These are the last couple minutes of the broadcast. We'd like to give this to you for promo, any sales that you have at Sage Sound Studios, and this time is yours, brother. Go right ahead.
Oh yeah, so we are expanding into some more rehearsal rooms right now. And soon we'll be rolling out a membership program. So if you become a member, you'll get discount on both the rehearsal and recording. And yeah, that's basically where we're at now. So we'll have like about 3 rooms, and we'll be able to go around the clock basically.
Social media, where to find you: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that great information for our audience. The social media of where to find you.
Social media, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Connection. Yeah, so www.sagesoundstudios.com. And it's the same Instagram, it's just Sage Sound Studios, and I think Facebook is Sage Sound Studio because we lost our original page and got it back. So yeah, if you go to the sagesoundstudios.com, you'll get the links to all the socials. That's the best place to really contact us is through website, contact page, or Instagram direct messenger. That's the quickest way to get hold of us.
We got about 1 minute left in the broadcast, Nate. Just please tell myself and Easy and just a little bit more for our audience, just a little bit of advice for someone who wants to go on almost a similar path you at when it comes to entrepreneurship and music recording engineering. One last trickle of knowledge you can give it to them.
Take your time. It won't happen overnight. Perseverance and preparation.
That was awesome. No, it's true. Like people, because we are a social media society, we have a 15-second attention span. But life doesn't happen in 15 seconds. You cannot get every single one of your goals and dreams in 15 seconds. Be patient, be persistent, and be professional. The 3 Ps of Sage Sound Studio that get you moving forward. Feel free to take that, put it on a shirt, you'll be fine.
Nate, thank you for being a part of Behind the Brand. We appreciate you, brother.
Thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely. On WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and Easy Blues Behind the Brand.
Thank you.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs through the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the bruja